Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Godzilla Rant video. I promised for those of you on my Facebook page that I would make one regarding my latest trip to Dallas, and in this case, it was for the Fan Expo, the much coveted, the much promoted, the biggest essentially Comic-Con that's within Texas right now. It was just this past weekend, so I decided on a whim to try to go test it out just for Friday and Saturday, as I had prearranged plans on Sunday, just to see how it was, because I was there last year, and this one, in this case, would again take place in the very large K. Bailey Hutchison Convention Center there in downtown Dallas. So I wanted to go ahead and try it out. And unfortunately, this was and still is considered, even today, it looks like it was a huge mess, especially with regards to Saturday's fiasco. I mean, it was insanity when it comes to the errors and everything bad that was associated with this Comic Con. So, first, I'll go ahead and I'll point out some of the good stuff that happened, because not everything is bad, but in this case, the bad definitely outweighed the good. But I still want to point out some of the good stuff, and then I'll go into full detail with regards to all the mess ups, including some of the almost sinister type stuff that Fan Expo has been doing with regards to Saturday's activities. So for starters, again, if you want to check out my Facebook page, I was previewing this on yesterday's date on Sunday. So if you have a chance, check out my Facebook page and you'll be able to see that there. So I'm sorry, on Saturday's date. So anyways, let's talk about the Fan Expo. Again, this was the biggest convention now being held here in Texas. Not quite as large as, let's say, San Diego Comic-Con or even the New York Comic-Con, but still, it's pretty large. According to the estimates, it's about 30,000 people that show up over the weekend, although it's been estimated to be even larger than that. I think they were in some places even quoting over 50,000. Not during all the same day, although it certainly did feel that way on Saturday. But still, over those 3 days, that's a pretty good amount of attendees. And I've been going to the Dallas Comic Con, in quotations, Dallas, because most of the years it was in Irving, but I've been going to them for a good number of years, about 6, maybe 7 years or so. I was there from the very, not to start, but close, whenever they were at some Plano Convention Center. Then they moved to the Irving Convention Center, and then finally here to the K. Bailey Hutchison Convention Center, finally in Dallas, so that way they could rightfully call themselves the Dallas Comic Con. And each year it's been okay, like things are getting better, some things are getting a little worse. Obviously, with more attendees, there's going to be more headaches, more issues, more crowds. But it was always in the sense that, it just comes with it just comes with the trade. And in my case, it takes a lot for me to essentially be riled up about something. Like, I have a lot of patience on things. I realize that circumstances happen, and but with regards to what happened on Saturday, oh my God! And the thing is, it didn't even happen to me per se. Instead, I saw it happening to so many other Comic-Con goers, fellow Comic-Con goers, that I can't just help feel the same anger that they were feeling. I mean, if I had that happen to me directly, then that would have been even a whole other story. But still, yeah, whenever you finish with this rant, I'm sure you'll understand how I'm feeling for them, and hopefully you'll feel for them too. For starters, first though, the good stuff that I was mentioning. So yes, as the Comic-Con was growing over the years, better guests were coming in, and that was a pretty good treat. Like in this case, finally I got to see Mark Hamill when it comes to his Q&A. Like, he was finally here in Dallas. I have no idea when he was here before. It seemed like it was over a decade or so. Someone might have to correct me on that, but certainly not within my time period when I was going. And so he was the unicorn. He was the one that everyone has been asking for, and he was finally here. So I had to go check him out. That's why I decided to go mainly to the Comic-Con to try to see him. And I went to, on Friday, his Q&A, which was a little bit of an annoyance because they did charge a fee for it to go in. But still, $19 in terms of a ticket just to see him. It's a small price, I think, to pay, considering I don't think he's going to be back for a long time afterward. And it was my opportunity to see the quote-unquote final farewell tour of Stan Lee. I mentioned those in quotations because this is now, for those of you that are keeping track, his third final farewell tour for Texas. He had one last year for Fan Expo. Then he had one earlier this year for Nerd Year's Eve, that big fiasco. And then now this one as well. So third one in less than 2 years. Let's see if he'll make it a fourth. But they're keeping their word, apparently. They're stating that, yes, this is his final ever Texas appearance. So and I had to go check it out just to see his Q&A too, to kind of bid adieu to him. Honestly, I don't think he has that long left too, considering the health issues that he's been facing. So I have to get one in to make sure that that I could see him one last time at least. Those two Q&As were a blast, an absolute blast. It was fun to go to them. You can tell that they love doing those Q&As, unlike other celebrities where sometimes it's just a walk through the motions, like they're just there, all right, let's get to some questions, and then that's it, they're gone. No, in this case, they love to interact with the audience. Mark Hamill especially. I mean, he was someone that you could absolutely tell, and he said it several times in the Q&A, that this is his favorite thing to do, because unlike him, he said, having a sign almost like a robot hundreds of times and having little interaction with fans under the autographs. Here, though, on the Q&A, he's able to, what he says, relax. He can spend over an hour doing these things. And what I liked about it, too, is that the Comic-Con was kind of pressuring him to wrap it up, but he said no, like, I'm going to keep extending this because it's for you, it's for the fans. So that was a really good touch, and I got some pretty good seats. I always wait till the last minute to walk in, because then I try to see which ones on the front row but towards the corners are available, and they always are. So those are always really good seats because I get to be near the speakers, I get to see the projection close by, so win-win situation for me. Another good highlight with the Comic-Con was, of course, the cosplayers. I love now going to see the cosplayers. I'm not really much going into celebrities anymore when it comes to visiting them, because it seems like it's either you're in a cattle call or the celebrities just aren't in the mood to be, I guess, interacted with. But with the cosplayers, it's amazing. Like, especially Marla Massey, the M-Cubed cosplayer. She's my favorite of them all. Absolutely beautiful, so sexy, just unbelievably just gorgeous. I've seen her now in a lot of cons, and it's always a treat to be able to see her and get her prints. If you follow my Facebook page, you'll see some of the prints that I've gotten from her too, and you'll understand why she's my favorite. She's so fantastic with fans, and even then, to the other day when it was so crazy busy, she still tried to make time to just talk to a little bit. Understandably, of course, it had to be a little rushed because of the fiasco that was going on, but still, it was great to see her. And then I met another new cosplayer, a girl named Jennifer 1377, if I'm not mistaken. She was very nice as well. Beautiful, just absolutely stunning. And she was so kind and so warm, so it was great to see her too. I tried to see Jennifer Van Damsel, but she had a line for her, and I don't know, like, I didn't want to wait too long because I was tired of waiting on so many other things. So maybe next time, because it seems like she was here last time too. So when it comes to her being here, there's probably going to be another chance later on. But otherwise, yes, the highlight, another one, are cosplayers. I love seeing them more now. Obviously, they're easy on the eyes too, but I love seeing them now here more than celebrities themselves. So I can totally understand their growing popularity. And then another highlight, this was just a personal one for me, was the pizza. They had some vendor food there. Normally that stuff is like really bad, just cafeteria type food, but charged at exorbitant prices. But in this case, there was a vendor that was selling pizza, and even though they were running out, which was kind of bad news at first, it turned out to be really good news, because when I was waiting for the pizza and then it got ready, guess what? It's 100% fresh. Like, we're talking like steam still coming out of the pizza, and it was fantastic. I loved it. I wish I could have gotten a second one, but still, it was really good pepperoni pizza. So that was another huge highlight. Give me a fresh hot pizza with a Dr. Pepper, and I'm in heaven when it comes to food. So that was an awesome experience. Now, let's go ahead and let's talk about the rants for the Comic-Con. So here's everything that was really bad with what happened at Fan Expo. Friday was a breeze. It was just maybe a quarter of the audience, if I had to guess. So I didn't really expect much stuff happening, but I kind of knew I should have foreseen like how bad it was whenever on Saturday when I came in, how troubling parking was. Normally parking is not that hard to find. I can't really blame the convention for this because it's just the city of Dallas, but it should have given me an idea of how much the size of the masses that were going to be there. Sure enough, I mean, I had to park about 8 blocks or so away to get to the convention. I had to park at some Bank of America Plaza building, something that goes 12 floors up, and even then, I mean, I had to park towards the very top. I mean, that shows you an idea of how many people were there. So, and then when I walked in, it was pure insanity. Like, the line to get in just to the elevators was a queue. It was a queue that stretched for quite some time. And with regards to the the escalators, even with 2 of them going non-stop, it was still a very, very long queue. Again, I can't really fault the convention on that 100% because still, I mean, there's some reasoning. If you have a lot of people coming in at the same time, naturally there's going to be a queue. But what worried me was it was consistent. It was always a queue. It was only towards the late afternoon that things finally started to die down. But otherwise, that was constantly going on. But the real mess was inside the station. If you've seen pictures, go to the Dallas Fan Expo page, and you'll know what I'm talking about. I even have one that I have posted on my Facebook page. You will see just a sea of heads. That's all you'll see, stretching from the very forefront to the very background. That's how it was on the inside. It was clearly oversold. It was insanely oversold. Like, I cannot give you much emphasis more than that. I mean, it was amazing to see everybody, almost it seems like all of Dallas, within one single place. And what made this even worse was, unlike last year, where the Fan Expo, they pretty much opened up the entire convention center, like they rented it or leased it out. Here, they decided to cut it in half. That shows greed. I mean, that shows that penny pinching type stuff, because here they have bigger guests than last year. They want to capitalize on those guests, but at the same time they don't want to spend the money for the auditorium for those guests. That was insane. Whenever I walked in and I saw those sea of heads, and then I looked towards, like, let's say towards my right, where half of the auditorium was draped over, unused, it made me scratch my head, like wondering what's going on. Why was this auditorium cut in half? Everybody was mentioning that too on the Fan Expo website, because everybody that was there last year for what was considered a big event as well, it was mentioned how many times that it was very spacious last year. Like, it was great to walk through, it was easy to do so. Now you had nothing. All you had was a sea of people that you had to wade through. There's no exaggeration on this part, but when it came to getting from point A to point B, in this case from the escalator, the top of the escalator, to the entrance, which was only one entrance for general admission, here you have tens of thousands of people all trying to get into that one single entrance. It took 10 to 15 minutes just to get through one portion of one simple hallway. I'm not exaggerating when it comes to that. Imagine the worst gridlock traffic that you can. And on top of that, you had the vendors, in this case the food vendors, within that very same hallway. And on top of that, you had the dining tables within that very same hallway. So what should have been a very ample hallway, enough for everyone to walk through, was suddenly cut by a portion because of those tables, was cut by another portion because of the vendors, and then finally you had the entire audience crammed into going to one single entrance. That was insanity. It was crazy. I dreaded having to get out of the convention center, like let's say the exhibition hall, because each time I did so, I knew I had to go back into that melee. That's why I tried as little as I could to actually go into the exhibitor center, other than to see the cosplayers and to maybe glance around once or twice. That was it. I spent most of my time haunting the panels, which were on what was considered section C, far away from all that fiasco. I mean, it was insane. This is how crazy it was too. Apparently somebody, and this is unconfirmed, I don't know if they either A, fainted, or B, had seizures, but there were multiple people that were having issues with all this crampedness. Like, they were claustrophobic, like, and rightfully so. Like, when it came to them having anxiety attacks from it, like, I cannot express how tightly packed it was. I had to bring in my shoulders in order to make sure that I could move along. Imagine that. Like, imagine being stuck shoulder to shoulder, neck to neck, with all these people around you, and it goes on to the very far distance, as far as you can see, with regards to that crampiness. I mean, that was crazy. Like, that's why some people, including one person, apparently fainted, and then another person had an anxiety, like a not anxiety, what is it called, a seizure, because of the situation. There was an ambulance that had to come in. I saw this. Like, they had to take a person and put them on the stretcher, and this is how Twilight Zone this gets. When that stretcher was being taken out, even the ambulance people couldn't get out. Like, they had to keep telling people, move, move. They had to force push themselves through, but still they couldn't move forward because of how cramped it was. That makes me wonder, how in the heck did this convention not get shut down? There's always the idea that whenever you have a big venue, it could be a rock concert. It could be just a what do they call it? A rodeo, whatever is the case. Like they just had one in Austin, for example. And you have so many people coming in. There's always supposed to be something in terms of, let's say, fire marshal or some fire department there to monitor the activity. And the main reason for that is they want to make sure that if there's any true emergency, that there's enough ample space for everyone to run, to move someplace, exits, whatever's the case. Maybe there's a fire, maybe there's an explosion, whatever. They want to make sure that everybody can move safely. This was nowhere near safe, nothing at all safe. I mean, this was pandemonium short of, let's say, an actual emergency happening. Like, if something truly had occurred there, there's no telling what would have happened with the crowds. I mean, there would have been so much melee from people stampeding over each other if there was truly some kind of emergency. Like, this was totally irresponsibly oversold. And it made me scratch my head. How in the heck did the fire marshal not do anything? I'm reading reports now, though, that there was not once but twice, two separate occasions, where the fire marshal threatened the convention promoters that they were going to shut this place down if they did not take certain actions. But those are unconfirmed. I can't really see if there's 100% proof, just more along the lines of people posting that they saw this in action. Apparently even the fire marshal got into arguments with some of the fans because no doubt the fans were like, what the heck is going on? Like, how can you allow this to happen? Like, I've seen stuff in Austin shut down for a quarter of the size for some of the venues there, and here in this case this was all happening almost untouched. touched. But yes, they were fighting. Apparently, those circumstances. I even saw one woman almost to the point of tears because of what was happening when it came to the venue being oversold. So in my case, it didn't directly affect me 100% because I wasn't getting autographs. I wasn't getting photo ops. I'm going to talk about that more here in a minute about that fiasco. Instead, again, I was going towards the panels, which were luckily in a whole different floor, much less crowded, and I just decided to stick there as much as I could. I did see some really good panels, though. I saw the Scott Snyder panel, and then I saw the Charisma Carpenter panel as well. So those were a highlight, a pretty good treat. I tried to see the Meatloaf panel, but unfortunately, with the aforementioned having to go in and out of the exhibitor hall and taking so much time for it, I missed out on it. I missed out on another one involving a cosplayer named Leanna Vamp, who I saw at the Walker Stalker convention a couple months back. I wanted to try to catch her again, but no, I had to miss out on that one too. So that was also pretty unfortunate. But let's talk about the exhibitor hall, specifically the next fiasco, which is the autograph and the photo op station. Apparently, from what people are stating, again, this didn't affect me, but I had to go check it out just once. There was sheer pandemonium there when it came to the people, the way they were lined up, the way things were stacked. I mean, it was pure insanity. Again, check out my picture on Facebook page when you have a chance. I had to go there. I had to take a picture, and they were absolutely right. Imagine like half of the auditorium packed shoulder to shoulder with just people. That was the photo op line. That was the signature line, and the main reason for that was because you had those Walker Stalker guests, the Ritas and then Negan, I'm sorry, who were there. They always bring in a huge crowd, unlike any other convention around. And then you had Stan Lee, who again was in his final farewell. And then you had Mark Hamill, who was finally here in Dallas, in Texas, after so long. So when you have all those conditions into place, then you have a mixture of errors. And then to further complicate things, and this is where I still think, is this truly Fan Expo or is this something else? But the way that the packages were sold for the Walker Stalker fans, Negan and Ritas were supposed to be there Saturday and Sunday. But guess what? After so many months of being told Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, guess what? On the very last day, almost like second to last, or maybe actually the day of the convention, on Friday, it was announced that they cannot make their Sunday date. Apparently, there's some unforeseen, and I'm using quotation marks, circumstances. In this case, being the filming, everyone is finding out now, of The Talking Dead. But how can that be unforeseen? I mean, The Talking Dead, that type of stuff is usually planned out weeks ahead of time. It's not something that's generally, like when it comes to TV scheduling, it's not something that's just dropped out of the blue. Like, let's say tomorrow, oh, guess what, guys, you're on The Talking Dead. No, it's usually stuff is planned out because you have to plan out flights, you have to plan out hotel stays, you have to plan out scheduling for filming. I know enough, at least on that part, to realize that that stuff does not go unplanned. But then out of the blue, on let's say Friday, the day of the convention, announcing that, oops, sorry, there's unforeseen circumstances on Sunday, nothing we can do. So guess what happened now? Everybody that was going to see those two guys, and those Walker Stalker fans are insane when it comes to the number of masses that they are. Everybody that was going to go see them originally on Sunday now got moved to Saturday with those people that are already on Saturday. So now you have two groups of people, Saturday and Sunday, all jammed into one single day. Ugh, like that was pure, I shuddered thinking about it now. And then also, it was announced out of the blue on Saturday or late Friday that the flights for, I think it was the two of them, came really late. Like, for whatever reason, apparently weather circumstances somewhere in New York, who knows where, They could not make their flights originally from the day before, and so they had to fly in on Saturday late. And so because of that, everybody that was waiting for them early Saturday now had to wait and towards the late afternoon. So now you have the people that should have been gone early Saturday, gotten their photo ops, gotten their signatures. Now you have them waiting all the way towards late afternoon Saturday with the late afternoon Saturday people, with the Sunday people. So does that make sense? Like, in other words, you have three groups of people all in one single space, all during the prime time showing of, in this case, the fan expo with all the other fans that were there. Now you can see why, whenever you're looking at that picture on my Facebook page, it was just shoulder to shoulder insanity, just pure sea of heads when it comes to that area, because you had those three groups of people all at once, thousands and thousands and thousands of fans all at once, just in that one single area. And unfortunately for everyone else, like let's say people that were there for Stan Lee, people that were there for Elijah, no, never mind, she ended up canceling, but for some of the other stars that were there, that's the same area. Everyone was crammed into that same place. Oh my goodness. I can't understand, like, the reasoning of this. Like, if the convention center was just, instead of cut into half, like I mentioned earlier, if they would have leased the entire area, that problem would have been solved. But no, they didn't. They decided to be cheap and at the cost of the fans. And so because of it, now you have this. Here's where things get really sinister, though, because apparently tickets were still being sold for the Redis experience, the Negan experience, all that stuff, way into late Saturday, but they decided to fly them out early. So things getting even worse. So now the time period is cut even more so for the people trying to experience seeing them. And apparently this is because, quote unquote, weather was kind of be really bad later in the night, and so they wanted to make sure that they were able to fly out ahead of time. But I say that in quotations because people are now exclaiming, and rightfully so, in anger on the Fan Expo page. Apparently, it takes 24 hours to fly to LA, or people are stating, apparently flights are still going in and out even when this weather that was not raining at that time. But later on, flights were still going in and out, but people were still told, sorry guys, we have to fly them out early. And so because of that, all those people, I'm not joking, there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that waited hours, in some cases 6 to 8 hours, to try to see them. They could not see them. They were told late into the 8-9 o'clock period that that's it, that they're gone, the stars are gone, and that they will not get their autograph, they will not get their photo ops, they will simply get a refund later on. That would make me so livid. The idea of someone waiting 6 to 8 hours. Imagine if your photo op was originally at 12, then it's 2 o'clock, then it's 4 o'clock, then it's 6 o'clock, finally it's 8 o'clock. You're standing there waiting for 8 freaking hours, and then you're told, sorry, the guys are gone. There's nothing else we can do. We have to fly them out. That's it. That's why right now, if you go to the comments page in Fan Expo, if they're not being deleted, the comments there are just absolutely livid. People are so mad. They are just seething at the fact that they wasted an entire day waiting in line for these two guys, and then being told that they're gone, while at the same time tickets were being sold, while at the same time people were being still put into the lines. I mean, it was just crazy. That's what makes people so mad. Like, they're thinking to themselves,